Cleopatra's deadly mistake. Historical lessons in emotional intelligence. The historical lesson why emotional self-control is your greatest strength. Cleopatra conquered two of history's most powerful men. Julius Caesar and Mark Antony literally bowed before her. But there's a historical lesson nobody teaches you. She lost everything because of an emotional intelligence mistake you might be making right now. This content is purely educational, based on historical analysis for emotional intelligence development and self-awareness. Always use with ethics and responsibility. Think you understand leadership? Think you know what influence really means? Let me share a historical lesson that will transform your perspective. The most powerful queen in history, the woman who conquered emperors, made a fundamental mistake in self-control. And you might be repeating the same pattern. Uncontrolled love, blind passion, unfiltered emotion. Three aspects that society romanticizes, but that can compromise our ability to make rational decisions. Cleopatra had the world in her hands. She governed Egypt, influenced Rome, commanded entire armies. But Mark Antony became her greatest vulnerability. She fell deeply in love, and the moment that happened, she lost the strategic objectivity that made her powerful. Her emotions blinded her to reality. Mark Antony had serious limitations as a leader and strategic partner. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. When you feel intense emotions, your prefrontal cortex responsible for rational thinking has its activity reduced. You become more impulsive, less analytical, more vulnerable to poor decisions. People with high emotional intelligence recognize this. They study behavioral patterns and develop the ability to protect themselves from negative influences. They identify their own emotional triggers to avoid being easily influenced. Your anger, they process it before reacting. Your fear, they analyze it rationally. Your love, they balance it with wisdom. Law 33 of the 48 Laws of Power teaches us about self-awareness. Discover your own vulnerabilities first. The secret is developing emotional intelligence to protect yourself from impulsive decisions. Napoleon said, "A leader is a dealer in hope." But what history shows us is that a true leader first develops emotional self-control. They don't let unprocessed emotions compromise their judgment. What's the difference between someone easily influenced and someone with high emotional intelligence? The first reacts impulsively. The second responds thoughtfully. The first falls in love blindly. The second loves with wisdom. The first feels fear and freezes. The second feels fear and plans. For the next 3 days, conduct a personal development experiment. Practice emotional self-control. No matter what happens, criticism, praise, provocation, influence attempts, you'll pause before reacting. You'll observe your own reactions. You'll develop self-awareness. Write in a notebook every situation where you almost reacted impulsively. Write what you felt, what you almost did, then write what a person with high emotional intelligence would do. In 72 hours, you'll have a map of your own emotional tendencies. If you made it this far, you recognize the value of developing emotional intelligence. Type growth in the comments if you're committed to your personal growth. And if you want to continue learning historical lessons for your life, subscribe now, because the next teachings will further strengthen your personal leadership capacity. The trust trap: how your friends are your deadliest enemies. Mark Antony didn't betray Cleopatra with a war. He betrayed her with a smile, with sweet words, with promises whispered in the dark. The most lethal betrayal never comes from your declared enemies, it comes from those you trust. You're surrounded by predators. Right now, as you read these words, someone close to you is collecting intel on your weaknesses. Could be that coworker who always listens when you complain about your boss. Could be that person who always gives you a shoulder to cry on. Could even be someone in your own family. The shocking truth: 90% of people who show genuine interest in you are actually mapping your vulnerabilities. Not out of pure evil, but from social survival instinct. They need to feel superior, and your weakness is fuel for their self-esteem. Cleopatra made the classic mistake. She confused interest with loyalty. Mark Antony studied her like a spy studies a target. Every secret she shared, every fear she revealed, every insecurity she showed, all of it became weapons in his hands. Roman senators turned this into an art form. They made fake friendship into a science. Warm handshakes, sincere offers to help, intimate confidences, shared. But underneath the toga, there was always a sharpened dagger. Fakeness wasn't just a strategy, it was an art form. Here's the psychological secret that changes everything. People don't betray out of opportunism. They betray out of emotional necessity. Your trust in them creates a power dynamic where you're the vulnerable one and they're the controller. It's addictive for them. It's irresistible. When you reveal a weakness to someone, 3 things happen instantly. First, you lose status in the social hierarchy. You go from equal to inferior. Second, you hand over a psychological weapon that can be used against you later. Third, you awaken their predatory instinct even if they don't consciously realize it. Think about it. Every major betrayal in history happened because someone trusted the wrong person with the right information. Caesar trusted Brutus. Jesus trusted Judas. Cleopatra trusted Mark Antony. The pattern is clear. Trust is the ultimate weapon of mass destruction. But here's where amateurs and masters separate. Amateurs avoid trust altogether and become paranoid loners. Masters use selective trust as a weapon. They don't trust everyone that's naive. They don't trust no one that's paranoid. They create testing systems. Selective trust is your secret weapon. It's not about distrusting everyone that's paranoia. It's about creating test systems. You reveal fake or minor weaknesses to see how people react. It's like dropping bait to discover where the sharks are swimming. Machiavelli was right. It's better to be feared than loved. But he forgot to mention the most important part. It's better to be unpredictable than either option. When people can't read you, they can't use you. Here's your devastating test. Pick someone you don't completely trust and reveal a controlled weakness. Could be a small work mistake, a manufactured insecurity, fabricated fear. Watch how they react. Do they give genuine support, or do you notice a different gleam in their eye? Do they keep the information private or use it subtly against you later? Document everything. Name, date, reaction, consequences. In 2 weeks, you'll have a complete file of the predators around you. More importantly, you'll know exactly who deserves your real trust and who should be kept at a safe distance. The most successful people in the world have something in common. They have very small inner circles and very large outer circles. They're friendly with everyone, close to few, and vulnerable with almost no one. They understand that in the game of life, information is power, and your weaknesses are the most valuable information you possess. The truth hurts, doesn't it? But pain is the price of wisdom. If you're feeling a chill of recognition, type snake in the comments. That means you've identified at least one predator in your circle. Share this video with someone who needs to wake up to reality. And hit that notification bell, because the next secret will reveal how to turn this pain into pure power. The deadly seduction: how others' desires become your ultimate weapon. Cleopatra didn't conquer Caesar and Mark Antony by being the most beautiful. Rome had thousands of more beautiful women. She conquered them by discovering something few know. Desire isn't about you, it's about their ego. And when you understand this, you become irresistible and lethal at the same time. Forget everything you learned about seduction. Forget beauty, charm, personality. Those are amateur tools. Power masters know there's something far more powerful: the ability to make people feel special through you. Cleopatra was a perfect psychological mirror. With Caesar, she became the woman who fed his fantasy of being the ultimate conqueror. With Mark Antony, she became the goddess who confirmed his fantasy of being divine. She didn't seduce them, she hypnotized them with idealized versions of themselves. The psychology behind this is brutal and efficient. Every human carries a secret fantasy version of themselves. It's the version where they're more powerful, more admired, more special than they really are. When you can identify that fantasy and feed it, you become a psychological drug. But here's the dark secret Cleopatra discovered too late. When you become someone's fantasy source, you also become hostage to that fantasy. Mark Antony needed her to feel divine, but when reality destroyed that fantasy, he destroyed her with it. Modern masters learned from her mistake. They use psychological seduction as a weapon, but maintain emotional distance. They feed others' egos without getting addicted to the power it generates. They're emotional dealers who never try their own product. There's a scientific formula for this. Identify the person's main insecurity. Discover what compensatory fantasy they created to deal with that insecurity. Become the mirror that reflects that fantasy back to them. Maintain control by never revealing you know what you're doing. Steve Jobs did this to the entire world. He identified that people felt ignored and ordinary, so he created products that made them feel special and innovative. He wasn't selling technology, he was selling identity, and became a billionaire in the process. Deadly seduction isn't about making people like you. It's about making them need you to feel complete. It's about becoming an essential part of the mental narrative they tell themselves about who they are. It's social media influencers who master this. They don't just post content, they sell their followers a fantasy version of themselves. If you buy what I'm selling, you'll become more like me. They're not selling products. They're selling identity upgrades. The most powerful people in every industry understand this principle. They don't compete on features or benefits, they compete on identity and status. They make their audience feel like choosing them says something important about who they are as people. But here's the crucial difference between amateurs and masters. Amateurs get drunk on the power of being needed. They become addicted to feeding others' fantasies. Masters stay sober. They provide the drug without using it themselves. Choose someone you want to influence professionally, personally, or strategically. For 1 week, observe and document. How do they like to be seen by others? What type of compliments affect them most? What stories do they tell about themselves? What insecurities are they trying to hide? Then start feeding their fantasy subtly. Make comments that confirm the idealized version they have of themselves. Give examples of how they embody the qualities they want to have. Become the mirror that always shows them their best possible version. But and this is crucial, always keep part of yourself distant and unreachable. Never completely surrender to the seduction. Remember, you're the dealer, not the addict. This is how empires are built in the modern world. Not through force, but through making others emotionally dependent on you for their self-image. The most powerful person in any relationship is the one who needs the other person least. You just learned one of the most dangerous secrets of human power. Use it responsibly, because this knowledge can change lives, including yours. Type power if you recognize someone who's already used this technique on you. And if you want to completely master the art of human influence, subscribe now, because the finale of this video will reveal how Cleopatra could have won if she knew what you're about to learn. The Queen's resurrection, how to build an indestructible mental empire. Cleopatra died, but she didn't have to die. There's an alternate version of history where she defeats Rome, dominates the Mediterranean, and creates a 1,000-year empire. That version only didn't happen because she didn't know the final secret of absolute power. But you're about to know it. You've reached the end of the journey. But this is just the beginning of your transformation. Because now, you possess something few humans in history have had: the complete map of human weaknesses and how to transform them into pure power. The difference between Cleopatra and you is simple. She learned these lessons too late, through defeat. You're learning them at the peak of your capacity, before making the fatal mistakes. You have the opportunity to become the version of her that never lost. But knowledge without action is powerlessness disguised as wisdom. What separates power students from power masters is one thing: the brutal discipline to apply what they've learned, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it goes against everything society taught them. Most people will watch this video, feel enlightened for a few days, then return to old patterns. They'll continue being slaves to their own emotions, victims of misplaced trust, prisoners of others' fantasies. Because it's easier to be a victim than a master. But you're going to be different. Because you understood the fundamental truth. Power isn't about controlling others, it's about having total control over yourself. It's about being immune to manipulation, because you understand how it works. It's about being unpredictable because you've mastered your own reactions. The Queen's ritual you're going to create isn't just a morning exercise. It's a complete reprogramming of your identity. Every day, for 5 minutes, you'll remember 3 truths. Your emotions are information, not commands. Trust is currency that must be spent wisely. Real power is invisible to those who don't possess it. Picture yourself 6 months from now. You walk through social environments like an elegant ghost. People feel your presence, but can't decipher you. You observe power dynamics around you with a surgeon's clarity. You identify manipulators from a distance. You feed egos strategically. You build true loyalties based on value, not vulnerability. You become what Cleopatra could have been, a force of nature disguised as a human being, a supreme intelligence operating through a mortal body, a divine-level strategist playing chess while others play checkers. This isn't about becoming cold or heartless. This is about becoming strategic with your warmth, selective with your vulnerability, intentional with your trust. You still feel emotions, you just don't let them control you. You still form connections, you just choose them wisely. The most successful people in every field share this trait. They're completely in control of their internal state while remaining flexible in their external responses. They don't react, they respond. They don't hope, they plan. They don't wish, they execute. Your real journey starts now. Over the next 30 days, implement everything you've learned. Test every strategy. Refine every technique. Document every result. Become a scientist of human power, with yourself as the primary laboratory. Watch how differently people treat you when you're emotionally unpredictable. Notice how much more respect you command when you don't seek approval. Observe how much more influence you have when you stop trying to be liked and start being valuable. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use these tools to build, not destroy, to elevate, not humiliate, to create a world where power serves wisdom, not where wisdom serves power. The game has changed. The rules are different now, and you're ready to win at a level most people can't even comprehend. Welcome to absolute power. You have 2 choices. Close this video and continue being another face in the crowd, or accept the responsibility of becoming who you were born to be. If you chose the second option, type Queen in the comments, because that's what you are now. Share this video with someone who deserves to wake up to their own power. Subscribe and turn on all notifications, because you just joined a very exclusive brotherhood. Those who know the real secrets of absolute power. The game changed, and you're ready to win.